right, well, it's Saturday. It's the weekend. How about that? Oh, I'm sure this thing will pop up on screen any moment now. Oh, there we go. Well, it was nice knowing you, Patricius. Well, I'll look in the news for me poisoned by feta cheese. Hey, Johnny, how's it going? Johnny's on D-Live. Johnny's always alone on D-Live, guys. Anyone who wants to go over and give Johnny company, he's over there. Patricia says he doesn't trust NWG because he's too fit. I don't know about that one, Patricius. It seems a little weird. All right. But anyway, today I'll play some Deep Rock Galactic. I also have some things I want to talk about, things I'll put on screen. Let me just do this real quick. Boom, boom, boom. I suppose that doesn't matter. Let me just see if I can do... Let me get a couple things ready. Because later in the stream, a little bit later, there's a few things I want to talk about. Okay. There's that. And then... just getting ready. Because today I'm going to have to use Paint again. And then I'm also going to have to use YouTube to play a couple clips. I want a clip from Thomas Sowell and also a clip from John Cleese. But, you know, we'll play a little bit before that. Nero says, never trust anyone under 15% body fat. That's just common sense. I mean, under 15%, I mean, that'd be pretty darn low for a woman and lowish for a man, right? Is that what NWG's body fat percentage is? I think it's like, for men, it's something like, without going into specific sort of training and diets, a lot of times, I don't think it's common for men to get under something like 18% body fat, something like that. You get the bodybuilders who get real low on body fat because they need to, like, maximize muscle definition. I mean, they're actually trying to get, like, striations in the pectoral muscles to show up. And you need ridiculously low body fat for that. Nero says 15% you get visible abs. I don't think it's that low. I don't think you have to get 15% just to get visible abs. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh gosh. Okay, let me... Well, and I don't know if I want to Google this on screen either, because if I type in body fat percentage, who knows, these images of torsos could be anything, you know what I mean? Hey Ando, hey Keynat, good to see you. Body fat percentage chart men. Yeah, well, whatever. Well, I suppose it's not just your weight, and oh, it'd also have to be your height. Gladius says, we must obtain supreme physical power to honor I suppose you mean honor, right? Honor Mars and its virility. Yeah. Well, I think peak male, as far as I understand, you know, hey, go ahead and consult the science on your own, you know, look it up. As far as I understand, peak male virility and peak female fertility is somewhere around 21 BMI in the general population. Now, BMI is, like, very useful for comparing a bunch of untrained individuals, right? People who aren't lifting weights. Once you bring in weightlifters, then BMI goes crazy, but, you know, like, So what? Most people aren't doing that. Like, okay, well, then they can get their own thing, right? Jacob, how's it going? Well, you must be thin as a rail then. You're 135 and 6 feet tall. Gotta be like Slender Man or something. No offense.
That's it. Our hour is over. Deep dive selected and ready.
You might need some milk. And some weights. Alright. Well, like I said, we will play a little bit. At some point in this deep dive, I'll probably pause the gameplay and do some other things. You know, there's things I want to talk about. I want to play this clip. So I have a clip here that I'll get to later. It's going to be Thomas Sowell's commentary on the bell curve, right? I'm going to be talking about sort of what he says about that. And then I want to talk a little bit about John Cleese. If you know John Cleese, you know, he did Monty Python stuff, right? He, a few years ago, he had this big thing. Well, I don't know. It wasn't a big thing to him. One second. Oh, man. Ugh. That sneeze. I was right about to sneeze and it never came out. What an unsatisfying feeling. Okay, more kite, huh?
Welcome to the first stage of the deep dive.
I know I'm gonna have to sneeze in a few seconds. I just don't know when it'll come.
Complete your first 2 objectives and you'll be all set for the next stage.
And then, so John Cleese, he had an interview where he said something to the effect of, I don't know what's going on in London. London's not an English city anymore. Right? Am I getting... I don't know exactly what I was taking damage from there. Oh my gosh, this is a low oxygen mission. Nero says true Indo-Europeans are 5'2", 200 pounds, pure muscle, less than 5% body fat. Or less than 8%. I don't know what the heck happened to my brain there.
Come here.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Also, Indo-European is a little broad, don't you think? I thought one of the things that I, you know, this is... Should I talk about this? Yeah, I suppose. One of the things I was gonna look into doing, and I'm, okay, like, I might never bother with the certification, right? Oh my gosh. So, have you guys seen, like, what is it, Captains of Crush? Grippers and shit? So, you have the grippers, right? The grip strengtheners. I was gonna work on my grip strength, you know, consciously. Because, you know, one of the manufacturers, this Captain of Crush company, or maybe that's just the line of their product, they have some pretty tough grippers. And if you can grip their gripper, if you can successfully grip some of their harder grippers, they actually give you a certificate as having completed it. I think that'd be kind of cool, personally. You know, it's like, you have like a 300-pound gripper, and you can successfully close it, which, well, face it, most people could never close a 300-pound gripper. But then the company sends you a certificate certifying that you had achieved that level of strength that very few people do. I think that's a really neat thing for fitness companies to do, right? Fitness, exercise, equipment companies. Alright. This is a weird tunnel, man. Uh-oh. Get out of here, menace. Wow. I hate these. Uh-oh. Spitballer. These really, annoying tunnels to work in. Should have been a scout. That being said, I might have, like, on-site refining mission next or something, you know, and then I'll be glad that he's, glad that I'm driller.
Mining is hard work. Good thing we're duels.
Johnny says, don't buy the plastic grippers? Is that what you're saying? I know the captains are crushed or whatever. Those are all just steel grippers. You have the cheap plastic ones, right? And I mean, like, I would think you could go for the cheap plastic ones, if they are still a considerable challenge to you, right? But, you know, at the end of the day, you're not going to get a 300-pound plastic gripper, because what plastic exactly are we using that's going to hold up to that sort of force with no, like, elastic deformation, or plastic deformation even, you know? Johnny says, I got those, but they are slippery. You talking about, like, the Captain of Clash grippers? Those are slippery for you? Well, I think on some level it's probably part of the challenge, you know? Oh, you got some cheap ones. Okay, I gotta get my mule over here. Because the mule is the thing providing me with oxygen. You can see the O2 tanks on the side of it during this mission. You know, normally you can just run around freely, but in this particular mission, there's very low oxygen in the pocket we're in. So I have to sort of hug Molly the whole time. And I would like to see more nitra. Here's some.
Where is that dead?
All right. Ooh. Now, Patricia says he thinks he's got pretty good black grip strength because he's been doing blacksmithing. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, on some level, right, the need for this sort of strengthening gymnasium workout sessions as they exist today are in part a response to a lifestyle that is so sedentary for most of us, right? And you can say, well, you know, we've had gymnasiums a long time. I mean, ancient Greece and Rome had them. Yeah, like, not ancient Greece had gymnasiums, sort of, but most of those would have been in places like Athens, right? Where people were living sedentary. I mean, the farmers weren't showing up to these things. It was, you know, the senators, the aristocrats, the this and that. I mean, these people, it was mostly the people who were doing the least who went to the gymnasiums. Or at least, like, that's the culture it came out of. I mean, obviously, you could have had some guys who really got into the gymnasium and started doing huge amounts of work. But, like, gymnasiums get built in cultures where you're not very active. And obviously, blacksmithing, especially sort of a traditional blacksmithing. I mean, like, it's one thing if you are feeding wrought iron bars into a machine that bends them and you just sort of assemble them into fencing, but it's another if you're actually, like, hammering an anvil, right? I don't have anything to give you, Molly. I just need to breathe. Nero says, I'm noticing the cool music more now. Did you have it low or they added it? No, they've had the cool music the whole time. It may be that I've adjusted some of my settings at some point. I mean, That sometimes happens. I try not to adjust it too much because I want to keep myself very intelligible and not hard to hear over things. But it may be that I've changed it a little bit. I mean, I just don't remember. So, no great answer here.
I need the mule right here, right now.
How much nitro do I have? I do have enough nitro for resupply. Okay. I'll do it. Now, Johnny 5K asked how they trained back then, you know, ancient Greece. You know, did they have something like barbells and dumbbells, or were they, you know, if you've seen those strongman competitions where they're like lifting just roughly spherical boulders, and a lot of times they'll manufacture them out of concrete, right? Is that what they were using? And the answer to that is I'm not sure. I mean, I definitely, when I think of like the early Olympics, I mean, obviously track and field and running and, you know, cardio stuff were big.
50%.
I don't think they were doing like a clean and jerk, right? On the Olympic stage, as far as I know, but they would do, obviously they had, I think they had like the discus and shot put, right? Those are pretty old. So, and like a shot put can be pretty heavy. So on some level it's like, well, I don't know if they were lifting huge boulders like modern strongmen, but they certainly were taking heavy stones and throwing them. Well, I don't know if they were stones. I mean, shot puts, maybe they were making them out of metal. But, like, I don't think they were, I don't know if they were lifting. That would be something good to look into, you know? Sort of, what would it be? Uh-oh, out of here, Mectera. In exercise equipment of antiquity, right? If you Googled something like that, I'm sure you'd get stuff.
All data retrieved. Objective completed. Nice performance, Minus.
Ooh.
You buck down.
Oh. Oh, hole in the wall. Okay, I'll come up through here.
Move your tin ass over here and hurry like your mother did. I killed the loot bug, and I'm not so proud about it.
Now, Offchi says on D-Live, Olympics end tomorrow. I expect war and or financial crisis starting next week. Well, you're already having a financial crisis if you're a Canadian who's deemed to have illegal opinions. As far as I understand, so this is like unconfirmed stuff on Twitter, right? So you're gonna have to go to CNN to get the official story. But on Twitter, I have heard that individuals who have family members who may have protested are sometimes being locked out of their bank accounts. Meaning, you know, not just protesters, but if you had a cousin or a brother or something who showed up to the protest, looks like your bank account's getting locked down in Canada. So, that's a little bit of a crisis. Maybe not the international financial crisis you were thinking of when you suggested it, but it is certainly a crisis for those people. Offchi says 2008 didn't end, they just kicked the can. Yeah, well, there's been nothing... There has not been much fundamental change to the economy as we see it today in terms of, like, it being more sound now than it was then, right? No major fixes of any sort have gone through, right?
Deep Rock seriously need to invest in some better equipment.
Incoming! Smoke him if you got him.
Alright, so I'm gonna probably fight this swarm. Oh god, no. Not more Mactera. Fight the swarm here. Book it to the next tunnel at some point. Oh, this is a very awkward tunnel. Yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff way over there I haven't explored. Okay, no, that's where I'm going next. I gotta find the next room and then call a resupply. 'Cause I don't have enough. Oh, I do have enough for 2 resupplies, but I don't want to use them right now. But, I don't know. One of the things I was looking at for talking about Thomas Sowell today is I was trying to find out if he'd ever talked about religion, right? In terms of from a religious perspective, non-academic. Because when he talks about the bell curve, he says something that is sort of like vaguely Christian, but I don't think he's actually a Christian. Like, I don't think he believes it. And I think he's sort of using it as a tool to suggest a thing that I would say is very harmful. So, I don't know. If anyone's, before I go into it, if anyone knows of Thomas Sowell actually coming out and saying he's a Christian or something, I would appreciate a link. Oh. Get it, Bosco. Come on, Bosco. Finish it off. There we go.
We fight for rock and
Look at how cute he is. And in this patch, in this season, where they had all this stuff they added to the game, and it's free for everyone, the skin of Bosco as used barrels is, it's like free for everyone, and it's new. You just gotta play a bunch. So, that's why my Bosco looks like barrels now. So Bagot on Twitch says that Thomas Sowell is not a Christian. And that's the impression that I get. But that didn't stop him from using these sort of pseudo-Christian arguments in his little thing on the bell curve. I guess I'm going over there.
Okay, come here.
Oh, Nitra. Nero says, how hard / time consuming is getting into this game? I mean, it depends on how seriously you take games. I would say that if you just start playing very casually, even if you only played a couple rounds a week or whenever you could, that's fine, right? Like, you won't have access to everything. They won't give you all the little tricks, but that being said, if you don't play that much, you might not know what to do with all the little tricks, right? With every little piece of the game. I would say, in general, your average mission, if you were to just go in the space rig, you select a mission and join it with 3 random people. That mission's probably going to take you about a half hour, and you'd have no problem just jumping in, playing with people for a half hour, and being done for the day, right? Doing one mission. I mean, the game will give you more rewards if you keep playing, but you don't have to, like, jam it out in a week or anything. I'd say, in general, the game respects your time. Thanks for the lemon, Piers. Appreciate it. God, this cave. This is a weird cave, man.
Deep Rock seriously needs to invest in some better equipment. Right there.
Go ahead and mine that. There we go. let's see here. Offchi says, Department of Justice is investigating short sellers, including Citadel. In the same week, huge document and data storage facility burned in Chicago.
Just take your sweet
I wonder, what
time,
short
old
sellers
buddy.
are they
Life
investigating?
not all die.
You remember, what was that one thing everyone was talking about? Remember when, like, that billionaire went on TV and cried that everyday normal people were buying GameStop stock when he was trying to short it? That was a hell of a... That was very weird to see. Like you're beating... These normal plebs are beating up on us billionaires.
Time to earn your paycheck, team. Got a doozy of a swarm.
I don't like some of these people.
Everybody collect ammunition.
Let's do this. I'll maybe do this and just grab one resupply for now.
Grabbing ammo.
Swarm! It's a big one, team.
Bactera. Got rid of that. Praetorian. Boom. I like it. Am I hearing another Praetorian? Oh, there's Acid Spitter. Acid Spitters are way scarier than Praetorians. I actually die to Acid Spitters sometimes. Probably more than most other things. Piers, good morning. Enjoy your coffee. I'm just gonna probably play through this first little deep dive mission, and then I'm gonna get into my thing, where I'm gonna be talking about Thomas Sowell and John Cleese and whatnot. I'll take another. Yeah, Pika. It's about Thomas Sowell. So, Thomas Sowell, he's got a video. Well, okay, there's a clip on YouTube of Thomas Sowell's writing. Like, someone else is voicing his writing, right? Someone is reading Thomas Sowell. And it's about Thomas Sowell's sort of response to the bell curve, which is Charles Murray's book, famous book about human intelligence.
Excellent mining team.
So I wanted to sort of talk about what he said in there,
We'll send the drop pod back in.
and then I wanted to parlay that into a clip of there's a clip of John Cleese talking about how London is no longer English, right?
Move your tin ass over here and hurry.
I want to talk about kind of what that means. And, you know, me and Krogan had talked a while about making a video. I wanted to make the John Cleese thing into sort of a prepared video. Maybe Krogan would edit it. But Krogan's gone on to other things. He's been busy with other things, so instead of making it into a big prepared video, I'm going to just talk about it here. Well, I'm not going to keep going down this cave, because I'm just going to call the drop pod.
Transportation inbound. The deep dive is progressing nicely.
Alright, so here's what the driller is good for. And I've been mostly playing driller most of the time. I'm just a driller sort of guy, because I can just drill straight through everything. So you can see that big yellow thing coming down. That's the drop pod.
Drop pod has arrived. Retrieving
It's
the
out that way.
Drop pod departing in
I'm not walking through all this tunnel stuff. Although I am... so I'm going to just go kind of up at an angle, break into this tunnel, hit this wall, and then keep going. Now I do hear a Mactera behind me. I can sort of drill upwards. See if it'll come in with me. Oh, I forgot about oxygen. Uh-oh. This is bad. I forgot about the oxygen thing. I could have gone with Molly a little bit more. Because I'm going to start suffocating here. I'm suffocating. And this. And I'm going to probably go down here. Bosco will have to get me up. And then I'll keep going. I'll keep going after Bosco gets me up. See, there's Molly right above us. I can drill up and get in Molly's path. And then jump in with her. Well, the drop pod's got oxygen containers on it, too. I forgot about the low oxygen part of this. That really screwed it up. Who wanted to join the Air Force? Okay, 1 second here.
Galactic thanks you for your good work. Drop pod will leave with or without you.
So Piers, I don't believe he's apologized for it, as far as I know. There was some blowback about his comments, but at the end of the day, were they unreasonable? Were they incorrect? I don't think so. So Gladius, I mean, Krogan is so deep in research, it's insane. I mean,
remember, leave no one behind.
The amount of, oh my god, a Hooli Hoarder. Let's take a look at it. Which path is it gonna go? Uh-oh. Is it going? Okay. Got it. What's that? Oh, on-site refining. Neck 3 pipelines. And alien eggs. I mean, he's done just an incredible amount of research. It's absolutely insane. I mean, he's essentially making a video right now that is a response to multiple, like, what is it? Their theses papers. I don't know exactly what it is. If he's responding to multiple, like, UK master theses papers or PhD. What I mean, he's trying to refute scholarly work through well-edited videos, and the amount of effort he's put into his videos is insane. The fact that it's not hitting YouTube with his big subscriber count that he used to have is sort of a loss to the world, right? Now, Offchi says, this Tuesday, Pluto returns to the same position it was on July 4th, 1776. He thinks it might mean something, or he thinks he might be crazy enough to believe that it means something, right? So it's sort of like this self-criticism thing. That would certainly be interesting, but I doubt it. Well, let's take a look at some things here. Actually, I might just turn this audio off. Okay, I'm at 19%. Everyone remember 19%. Okay. Now, let's take a look at this. It's good. This is going to be Thomas Sowell. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I could have put it up here.
It doesn't matter who.
What the heck? Humancondition.com. No thanks.
The vitriolic controversy developing around
Okay, so he's talking about the bell curve. He's saying, well, there's all this controversy about the bell curve. Now let's hear what he has to say here, though. This is the part I want to get to.
biased. We live twice as long as people in some of the poorer parts of the world, not because we are more deserving, individually smarter, or otherwise more meritorious, but simply because we had the dumb luck to be born into a culture which produces cures and preventions for deadly diseases that have ravaged the human race for centuries.
All right. So the reason you have it nice is because you had the dumb luck to be born here. And this is why I wanted to know, is he a Christian? Let's bring up Paint here. I mean, here's the idea that he's presenting. You know, whether he realizes it or not. And I think he does, because he's a smart guy. So here we're going to have a conveyor belt, right? Conveyor belt here. And we'll have some little babies. Goo goo gaga. Babies or fetuses, right? Or, you know, moment of conception kind of stuff, right? Little babies. And then we'll have a big hopper. And we're going to type in, it's the soul hopper. And then we'll make the soul a light blue, just for funsies. Like, here's a soul, here's a soul. These are all just human souls waiting for a baby that needs them. Right? Just waiting to be born into a baby. And let me do this. And then this. And then 4 of them. Yeah, I know there's some overlap here. But the basic implication is, oh, well, you know, this baby's in Japan, and this baby's in the United States, and this baby's in India, and this baby is in China, right? And, hey, you know, here's you. Here's you, and this is your soul. And you might be in this China baby, or you might be this India baby. I mean, those are the 2 biggest populations in the world, so a lot of souls are going there, right? And this one's in, let's say, Argentina, right? You might be an India baby, you might be a Chinese baby, you might be an Argentinian baby. It's just like whatever baby was underneath the soul hopper when you were going to go out. That's the idea he's presenting, because he says the reason the reason we live longer than someone born in some other part of the world is because, he says, we had the dumb luck to be born here, right? You just popped out of the hopper at the right time. Now, as far as I understand, most Christians have not prescribed to this, or most Christians have not taken this sort of idea seriously. This is not like a common historical conception of the soul. As far as I understand, a couple of the more common conceptions of the soul is that on conception, or at some point, God creates a soul for you, or God created one soul for Adam, and Eve received a piece of that, you know, because she's his rib. And every person receives a component of your parents' souls, right? Like, there's those 2 major conceptions within the Christian idea space historically. So this idea that he's presenting doesn't seem to fit a historical Christian narrative, and I don't think he's a Christian anyway. I think he's just proposing this so he can say it's dumb luck. And I'm here to tell you it's not. Okay? This is not how that works. The reason the kids who grew up in New York have the Empire State Building is because their ancestors, or their very recent ancestors, built it, right? And their very recent ancestors put up with construction. I mean, you got to remember, 5 people died while building this. And the reason some other people in some other part of the world don't have an Empire State Building is because they didn't build it. The stuff you have might not have to do with you being individually smarter or more meritorious. The stuff you have has to do with your ancestors making the sacrifice to create that stuff for you. That's it. Why does this group of people have sailing ships and this group of people who also live on a coastline not have sailing ships? Well, because the ancestors of the people with the ships built the ships. That's why. They went out of their way to build ships. They went out of their way to make these things that could be handed down. And so I don't prescribe to this. I'm going to take a very biological interpretation. Have you ever heard of the phrase standing on the shoulders of giants? In this case, I'm going to be using it to refer to, a lot of times this has to do with sort of like intellectual progress and philosophy. I'm going to be doing it to refer to sort of our material wealth, including like the building of hospitals and MRI machines and all that, right? So the reason, you can look at every culture in the world, right? You can go to Japan and you can watch the Japanese children play in their parks. And a lot of those parks may have been originally created during the Meiji Restoration or something. So the people who built them are dead. But the people who built them in part to pass down to their ancestors, to pass down to the people who live there now. Why do I not have a park from the Meiji Restoration? Well, because my people didn't create that sort of thing, right? Every current human group is currently in a position where they every current human group is in a position in part because of their ancestors. Their ancestors helped determine where they would be at today. That's just simply the way things are. We're all standing on the shoulders of our ancestors because that's their gift to us. Now, on some level, their gift to us is a place on their shoulder, right? So they went through all this effort, and there's a place in the world on that giant's shoulder, right? It's for you. Now, obviously, Thomas Sowell is in a rough position, right? Because he's sort of borrowing a seat on someone else's ancestor's shoulders, right? I mean, here he is posting this picture of these buildings, mostly built by some other group, some other giants, not his giants. So he's in a rough position because it could be, maybe, on some level, painful for him to admit that he's borrowing a seat that would be normally for one of us, right? But that's just the way it is. And this is where we can talk about John Cleese. Let's take a look at this.
That you did had a great eye for British culture. What do you make of British culture now, particularly after the riots that we've seen?
I'm not sure what's going on in Britain. Or let me say this, I don't know what's going on in London, because London is no longer an English city. And that's how they got the Olympics. I mean, they said we're the most cosmopolitan city on earth, but it doesn't feel English. I had a Californian friend come over 2 months ago, walk down the King's Road and said to me, well, where are all the English people? And
so there you go. We're starting to see the same sort of idea. Let's talk about language. This is something that I talked to American Krogan with about. You know, there's a Latin word, and I don't know how to pronounce reconstructed or ecclesiastical Latin, so bear with me. But it's something like tradere, right? Tra or trans means across. Dede or dade means to give across. And there's a couple understandings of tradere. For example, let's say your father had a sword that his father had given to him. Well, eventually, he may plan to give that sword to you. He may tradere that sword to you. And if he does that, that would be the good tradere. And that word, tradere, again, I don't know how to pronounce it, eventually morphed over a couple thousand years into our word tradition, right? So tradition means to hand down to, like, yeah, I think you're getting it. Let's talk about the bad tradere, though. Okay. Let's say your father took that sword, though, that he got from his father, and instead he pawned it. He sold it to a traveling merchant, and you would never see it again because he needed that money for booze, right? That tradere is the bad tradere. That eventually becomes the English word betrayal. Let's bring up paint. So it's like tradere becomes tradition, and B, which is like an English prefix, and trail. So if you were to read old Latin texts, you would see tradere, and you would sometimes see a good tradere and a bad tradere. And the good one we now call tradition, and the bad one we now call betrayal. But what is the big difference between the good tradere and the bad tradere? The good one and the bad one. The distinction is who you're giving it to, right? The word in both cases has to do with giving. You are giving across. The difference between good and bad, the difference between tradition and betrayal, is who you decide to give it to. That's it. And on some level, John Cleese understands this. If you were to go to 11th century London and you were to go see them consecrate the Westminster Abbey, all right, which would be, like 1,000 years ago, you would go see them do this. You would see the English people in London, and they would make this stupendous, miraculous, wonderful thing. But it would be time at some point for them to go and their ancestors or offspring to take over. They would tradere this abbey and the whole city of London to a new generation of English people. And then that generation would one day have to pass, and they would give on the city to the next generation of English people. So on and so forth for 1,000 years. Just as you have cities in the Middle East that, like Tehran, that have been passed from generation to generation, one after another, tradere, tradition, the pass from yourself to your offspring. But then John Cleese notices that, gosh, there aren't English people here anymore. This tradere has gone bad. What is the bad betrayal in English? Oh, what's the bad tradition in English? It's betrayal. John Cleese, I don't know if John Cleese fully understands it. And if he did understand it, I don't know if he would say it. But he can tell on some level that betrayal has happened here. This group used to live here, and now they don't. A betrayal has taken place. I think he can feel it deep down in his bones. Again, I don't know if he understands it. And if he did understand it, I don't know if he'd be willing to say it. He might be willing to say it if it was about some other group, right? If there was a mass replacement in Tehran and all the Persians, the Iranians were kicked out and someone else came in, he might be able to speak out about it. Or Accra, which is the capital of Ghana, and if all the black people got displaced, he might be able to come to terms with it more and actually call it what it is, a betrayal, right? Now, if these people left London, they could go to where they came from. They could receive what their ancestors left for them. They could go reoccupy the shoulders of their giants, and we could occupy the shoulders of ours. We could undo this betrayal. We could restore this tradition. After all, the English people were not asked if they wanted all this tradition to go away. The English people weren't asked if they wanted this betrayal. But, I don't know if John Cleese is willing to go there. I don't know if John Cleese actually wants to buy his father's sword back. And the thing is, John Cleese, no offense to him, I mean, John Cleese is, at this point, an old man, right? He's been very successful. If there's anybody who has the sort of financial position and position in life where someone would call it betrayal, it's him, right? I mean, imagine a young man, 20 years old, he's got a wife and 2 kids, he can't get fired. If he gets fired, his whole family's in jeopardy. His kids could be taken away from him by the government for suggesting that this is betrayal. He can't do it. John Cleese maybe could, but I don't think John Cleese is going to, because I don't think John Cleese has it in him. Now, I have heard that John Cleese might be working on a documentary. Someone told me that John Cleese might be working on a documentary on wokeism and how it has negatively impacted comedians. And if he does do that, that's fine, I guess. I would expect if he does something like that, it'll have a lot of punches pulled. It'll probably be a generally half-hearted attempt and probably won't go anywhere because it won't ultimately push back on the real issues. London will remain a non-English city. So there you go. Do you see the connection there between what Thomas Sowell was talking about and John Cleese? I think there's a real connection there. And they both have different reasons for engaging in this type of thinking.
The second stage of the deep dive begins. You still have a long way to go, but finish your objectives. It'll send you deeper into the heart of Hogsties.
That guy in mission control, he really has a cozy job. Vamos!
I see we're getting into the religion debate.
Open!
Oh.
Attack here.
A golden loot bug. Get it, Bosco. Hey, Spencer, how's it going? Johnny 5K says he says that he is a culturalist, not the naughty word. Are we talking about John Cleese or someone else? Or Thomas Sowell? I mean, I am... Oh, Johnny says Cleese does. Yeah, I'm sure he does. You know, I'm sure he says that. And I'm sure he likely, on some level, believes it. You know, I'm inclined to generally believe people when they tell me about themselves. If John Cleese says he's a culturalist, then he probably is. Probably not just covering it up. Because, again, he's at the age and success level where he would be the guy who could and should stand up.
I'm totally loaded. Loot bug looted.
Mr. A says, I have a gripe with you about your Thunderbolt George Floyd tweet. I don't even know what you're talking about. But yeah, this is the mission where you really want Driller.
Pumpjack launched. Stay clear from the impact zone.
All loot bugs deserve it, Gladius. That's what they get for eating precious minerals. The dwarves need those minerals.
They gone! Connect the pipeline to the pumpjack. You shouldn't use precious minerals. It will get you killed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting rid of a lot of loot bugs here, that's for sure.
I think we actually have a chance to make it out alive.
Okay, maybe... Let's take a look at the thing. Oh, man. Probably over there. Well, let's just take a look for more pumpjack locations for a second. Yeah, what don't you like about it, Mr. A? You don't like the graven images? Or you don't like me calling it a graven image? Aha! Here's one.
We need a pumpjack here.
Request accepted. Stand clear.
Okay.
Pumpjack inbound.
Oh man. This is gonna be a weird one to drill to, but
Pumpjack's here.
I've drilled to
Let's
weirder.
get it hooked up to the refinery.
A lot weirder. Remember there was this one mission. It was a part of an elite deep dive one week. It was one of these missions, right? The on-site refining. And... oh, wow. A lot of gold. And the center refinery was like a mile above every pumpjack. It was insane. And it wasn't like against the wall very well, so you couldn't just like drill down. It was really awful. That I actually tried like 3 or 4 times to do that elite deep dive solo as driller and never got through it. Oh, If I do this, come on, you. Woo. Yeah, this should work. I'll let that little guy live for a second while he cleans stuff off of the ground. There's a lot of stuff here. Mr. A says, if you want to LARP as being a new Israelite, maybe you should study your religion a bit more. Okay, well. Don't know what to tell you, dude. Uh-oh. A new Israelite? You mean like the black Israelites?
We need these in the space ring. Flares. Recharging.
Ooh. Get up here? Maybe? Oh, it's blue somewhere, right? Oh, no.
Goes here. One down, more to go.
Swarm, it's a big one, team.
Help me build it, please.
At the end of the day, as far as the whole George Floyd mural goes, the iconography seemed pretty clear to me. George Floyd might not have been wearing a crown of thorns, but they did have him in a crown on the mural. It seemed very clear to me that they were invoking Christian imagery while not being Christian, or while essentially creating graven images of their new religion, right? I mean, do you have a problem with that interpretation? Look at that, 3 at once? Oh baby, a triple. Whoop.
No more beasties incoming. Take care of what is left, then have a breather.
Pika says, a lot of white Christians seem to love Israel. Yeah, well, I think there's a lot to that. Oh, I'm out of stuff. Yeah, I can put a resupply here.
Supplies are on the way.
Now, in regards to the conversation about
I can't carry anymore.
Well, I'm just looking through all the chat here. I mean, I haven't been reading it exactly because, you know, fighting bugs. But, obviously, Christianity over time has changed on some level. Are we all in agreement? I think a lot of people who say certain things about Christianity well, so Mr. A, I wasn't asking about the Bible quote. I was just asking about I literally asked about the interpretation of the mural, not about the quote. I mean, like, I would like to try and get one thing at a time, right? But so, like, in general, the criticism about Christianity. I mean, Christianity has changed, and some of the criticism of Christianity in terms of, let's say, them upholding certain views that are harmful in this way or that way, or anti-family or whatever, or anti-this and that. I would ask, has it always been that way? I mean, are we because, like, you're either going to criticize it as, like, an ideological basis, like, it has certain ideas that are fundamentally always harmful, or you're going to have to criticize it in a historical basis, and, like, a sort of empirical basis, like, we can observe X. Although those things touch, right? Those things touch. So if you say they promote X, like this ideology necessarily promotes X idea, and if we look back through the history of the Christian church and that idea hasn't always been that way, then we've got some sort of problem. You know, are we saying that they just never understood for X number of centuries? They just didn't get their own religion as well as you do?
Down the hatch.
Nero says, by that logic, you could say the same about Islam if it becomes the dominant religion of Europe for hundreds of years. The core is still rotten. So, I'm not sure what the claim was what claim I made that would fit that. What claim did I make exactly? If you could quote me to make it clear to me.
Bosco, come here.
How do I want to get to this? At the end of the day, I think... so for those of you who have been following me for a while, I think you'll be able to recognize that my big concern is my people. I want good things for them. You know, lots of good things for them. And I'm fully excited and ready for any and all groups to participate. If they will. And I think some groups are more likely to do it and some groups are less likely to do it. But more than anything else, I want to win. I'm willing to consider any sort of ideas if it means the end of the denigration of white children for being born white, the end of the introduction of white guilt ideology into schools and communities, right? This stuff has got to stop. So,
Swarm incoming. Kill or be killed, team.
People like, well, that's what I was just saying, Mr. A. I care about my people. It's the blood at the end of the day. I think in the long run, I hope that they will find whatever religious convictions that allow them to ascend spiritually. But that's only going to happen if they're alive. So Nero says, a lot of people claim that Christianity created European culture / civilization, not saying you personally expressed that. Okay. Well, I mean, well, you said a second ago that it was, you were talking about something that I had said. Let me scroll up here. Okay, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna approach me with arguments that I didn't make, I won't be able to say much in response, ultimately. Alright, get rid of these, maybe throw one of these. Boom. Everyone loves that. So I know in Deep Rock Galactic, they did a change. So, let me see if I can group up a few of these guys. Maybe the swarm's almost over. You could kind of hear it. So, when you blow them up with one thing, they all make their death sound at the same time, and it gets kind of loud. And it's kind of exciting and cool. Well, in the game, they changed that, where it didn't make that sound anymore. And then the players complained. They're like, oh man, that was part of the fun, that was part of the excitement. You know, this. Oh, maybe I didn't hear it that much that time. But I think they changed it so you didn't hear it at all, and then they started to bring it back because it's actually part of the fun. Well, at the end of the day, I'm more than willing to work with any, as I said, any religious ideas you might have, as long as those aren't about getting white children to hate themselves and sabotaging everything that we could accomplish, then I'm fine with them. I'm not a huge fan of the idea of trying to fight and divide it about something else, right? Like, oh well, you don't believe X, so the only there's an X I care about, and then there's everything else. I mean, maybe you've seen my video where I say race is pre-political, right? Where I sort of say something like, listen, I don't care how efficient the bus system is and these various laws and regulations if my people aren't going to be a part of it, right? Kind of similar with some of the stuff we're talking about here, you know? If, let's say, any particular religious group were to come out as the most based of all the based, regardless of anything we've said, regardless of, like, any conceptions we have about their beliefs, if they come out as the most based and red-pilled of us all, then I will be happy for them and to receive them and to see them build their religious buildings in our society so that they can help us be more like them. I won't be angry about their proselytizations. Oh, no more things. Just freeze them all. Come on, you. Uh-oh. I'm out of gas. Could be throwing axes.
Bosco, build here. Getting supplies. Red sugar. Crawl back to hell.
Well, Mr. Gladius, in terms of finding the ultimate solution for any problem, I think that's one of the things that sort of on the right, the right wing, that's one of the problems, right? Right-wingers, a lot of times, they're really looking hard for that solution. That's sort of like, this is how we can finally fix it. A lot of right-wingers are, you know, they get real heavy into the fall of previous civilizations and how can we avoid it. And they're sort of obsessed, on some level, many of us, with, like, how can we finally make that stable society that we make and lasts forever? How do we make the eternal civilization that our great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren will be able to enjoy? How can I, you know, what sacrifices can I make so every one of my descendants will be happy forever, and free forever, and healthy forever? And this, you know, how can I make the everlasting civilization? And if they come to the conclusion, a lot of times, that that's not possible, it can kind of send them through a existential crisis. And yeah. The silver bullet. Yeah, the silver bullets, exactly. What's the one thing? And that being said, I think sometimes when people say the silver bullet, they mean, oh, well, there won't be a single solution. It'll have to be multiple things. But I'm not suggesting that, you know, it's like, oh, well, you got to think about solution as more multi-layered. I'm saying on some level there won't always be a solution that will last forever. It's like, on some level, we may have to do what we can to secure a future, hoping it'll last a couple centuries, and then it will come down to another generation to re-secure it, and we'll just have to do our best to give them the sort of intellectual tools to make that happen. Which I think why, on some level, if you look at No White Guilt, Jason Kuna's work, the idea of, and I tweeted about this recently, the idea of dialectics and language sort of in the culture war or whatever, in the cultural zeitgeist, is incredibly important and often vastly underrated by those on the quote-unquote right. What I mean is, like, we're in a situation right now where often what we think of as the right has no meaningful way to contest the ideas of the left because they use all the same language as the left. And if we can incorporate terms and lexicon that lends itself towards civilizational defense, then we will be giving a gift to the struggles of our future generations. Because a lot of that lexicon can last intergenerationally, and it does, right? I mean, if you need proof of that, then see if you can just pick up a book written by... If you're an American, pick up a book written by your founding fathers. I mean, yeah, it might have some weird things in there that you might not quite get right away, but after a couple times and some pattern recognition, you'll get it. You'll start automatically translating that long S, right? Kind of looks like an F. You'll get the words. Patricia says he wants his descendants to conquer the stars. Oh, exactly. Let's see here. I've missed some stuff. I'm gonna miss stuff in your chats the more you talk, which is fine. I'm not saying slow down. Spencer says, I don't think you can make a society that can last forever, but you can guide future generations. Well, exactly, right? The way you help your generation and the next couple immediate generations is largely material, and the way you help future generation is to a large degree lexicon. It's like, what are the things, like, you know, we talked about standing on the shoulders of giants. I mean, you can give them a building, but what if they fill that building with posters about diversity and stuff? Well, the only other thing you can really give them is a way of thinking, which is somewhat related to language, that conflicts with that. Ideas, information, historical narratives, and interpretation. Piers says, I'm surprised how many of our guys throw shade at Jason. It's very counterproductive. Yeah, I mean, I'm not involved with a lot of the guys who do that. I think Jason has a strong personality, and like there's always going to be conflicts of personality. And I think some of our guys are less able to put that aside than others. Like, I went on to Jason's show, and one of the things I did is I wanted to see where he was at by saying something that I really felt. And one of the things I said is, I talked about the term anti-white and how it's critical for, like, intergenerational self-defense, right? I talked about how I thought it was a valuable tool that... Well, I always talked about why I thought it was a valuable tool. You can, if you've seen it, you know it. If you haven't seen it, you can go watch it. I talked about why I think that term is valuable. And as the context of anti-whiteism changes in the future, the term will remain useful. And that's why I find it very important. So, when I said that, he was all over it, like, oh, that's great. You know, he really liked me saying that. So when I saw that that's what he tuned into, I knew we were on the same page. I'm confident that if he was given buttons, like if you gave him some magic buttons, it's like, well, here's the button you press to kill our people but make yourself a billionaire, and here's the button you press to, you know, to drive you insane, to drive you mad, but white children will be safe. And here's this button. Like, I'm confident he'd press the correct button, right? I am confident that he would press the buttons that would get white people to be treated with respect and with kindness and to save white children. Like, I'm confident of that, if nothing else. So, I mean, if you don't like him, well, I'm not saying you're bad, but I hope maybe you could recognize where his priorities are, because I think I've been able to recognize it, right? The reason I said the things I said and brought up the things I brought up is so that it could be gauged. It is so I could very easily tell where he's at and let him know where I'm at, and I liked what I saw. Now, I don't know. That being said, one of the reasons I started doing what I'm doing, in terms of making my videos on my YouTube channel, is the understanding that, you know, there are these weird personality quirks and ways of presenting ideas where it makes sense to have multiple guys doing it. I mean, I remember a conversation with my grandmother where she said something, and she basically gave like a Ron Paul quote without knowing Ron Paul had saying the same thing. And I said, wow, you sound exactly like Ron Paul. Have you read his new book or whatever? And she was like, oh, I hate that guy. You know, I'm like, what? What's wrong with this? And he's like, oh, he's such a weasel. Like, she hated his personality. She hated his way of talking. She hated, like, she didn't hate his ideas because she shared a lot of them, at least on this one particular topic, right? This one thing that she was saying, she agreed with him on. But she didn't want to hear that from him because she thinks that he's like a weasel or something, and she finds him very off-putting. So part of the reason I jumped in to do what I'm doing is because I know that someone who finds me off-putting will be able to rely on someone else saying something similar, what they like. And if someone doesn't like another creator in the sphere, then maybe I can reach out to him. And this is something we've seen with, like, Jared Taylor. You know, like, you'll have some people interpret Jared Taylor's sort of approach as pseudo-aristocratic, mightier than thou, I'm so much smarter than you. Like, that's, for some people, that's their interpretation of Jared Taylor. And maybe they'll like me, even though I say a lot of the same stuff.
Well done, team.
Can we create a society without loot bugs? Why would you want to? I mean, yes, they eat precious minerals, but then you can just pop them later. Spencer says there's an ego problem in our circles, and I think that's kind of true everywhere. Like, where is there not an ego problem? I mean, if you remember, I played on stream a little bit Disco Elysium. And I think that was one of the criticisms Disco Elysium gave to communists, is that they let their ego get in the way and they get petty and they gossip about other communists, right? It's like, everyone's doing it. And on some level, we're going to have to accept that this is the human condition. And that's why, like, again, that's why I started making my videos. It's like, okay, you don't like Jared Taylor, listen to me say the same stuff as Jared Taylor on some level, right? Maybe not identical, but to just throw my hat in the ring as another voice for us. So, Nero, your question, how can you embrace proselytizing? Why? Again, I said I put our people first, and for people whose religion puts them in the same line with me, I'm okay if they proselytize. What you seem to be suggesting is a group of people undermining me and fighting against me and these ideas. Well, I'm not big on people presenting harmful ideas. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Boss, go! Uh-oh. We're gonna see anti-whiteism and what we might call white positivity fall and raise within our societies among different groups, among different religious groups, among different ethnies, right? And if a religious group is willing to largely embrace white positivity and a future for my people and the respect and ending the generation of white children, then, you know, then I'm kind of alright with them.
You're powering up. Good work.
Spencer says he's got a friend who likes Jared Taylor. Well, he's a great guy. And the friend is a little vulgar and drinks a lot. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, it's some people, you know, there's no, like, one personality type I feel like Jared appeals to. I think it's lots of people, but, you know, again, the reason I threw my hat in the ring is because some people are just like, oh, that guy. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can introduce these ideas to you if you don't like somebody else.
On, I need the mule right here, right now.
Mr. Gladius says, aren't Japanese tilts technically Shintoists, but at the same time Buddhists? I mean, uh-oh. Get out of here, you. Religion is a very interesting thing out in the, out in Japan. You would definitely see, Japanese people go do a ceremony or visit a Shinto shrine and then go visit a Buddha shrine in the same week, right? For different festivals, right? At the end of the day, a lot of the festivals, like the religious aspect to the festivals for most people is just window dressing. And then otherwise it's about the community togetherness. That being said, if you look at their birth certificates, they're pretty much all Buddhists. It's like 90-something% Buddhism, right? On their birth certificates.
I'm wondering if fighting bugs and moving dirt is the best way to make a living.
I missed an egg, huh? Oh, maybe it's in there.
Mine it.
Where did I put a supply pod? I don't need that. How much nitro do I have? 1 million?
Supply drop has been ordered and is on the way.
resupply is here.
So, if we take a strictly
Follow me.
historical view of, what's it called? Strictly historical view of these religious groups, insofar as they exist. I think you would find, on some level, like if you're in the chat and you're saying you don't like Christians or whatever, I think you might find historically some Christians you like, and maybe a lot of modern ones you don't. That being said, you'd also find maybe a lot of historically, if we could investigate it. That being said, it's not a lot of info sometimes. You might find a lot of pagans you would like. But insofar as paganism exists today, a lot of those people who would call themselves that, you would hate, right? Because most pagans today are not Volkish,
You got a hell of a blip
right?
heading your way, team. Get
They're not
ready.
Volkish pagans. I mean, you have the Asatru Folk Assembly. And you have some other ones, but
Objective completed.
they're not all like that,
Quota has been met.
obviously.
Management will be pleased. Well done. All your objectives are completed. Drop pod beacon awaits activation.
Yeah, well, when I was over in Japan last time,
Good work. Sending in the drop.
the family I stayed with was fairly typical for Japan, and that was religion as a window dressing kind of deal. I mean, said they did go to a
Menace down.
Christian school. They sent their kids to a Christian school.
Been called back.
And so they're like, I went to like one of their kids' things with the family, and I remember they'd have their, I want to say it was like a track and field day of some sorts. They had their sort of pre-exercise prayer or something, you know, kami-sama this. God, I don't remember that thing.
Already explosives.
Hello. This is the final stage, and all I have to do is wait for this door behind me to open. Oh no. Whoa! Wow.
Good work. We're pulling you back in.
Barely lived.
The mule has docked. Initiating launch sequence.
I didn't press anything. It went right past that screen. Mr. A says right-wing pagan groups. When you say right-wing, do you mean Volkish paganism? Well, that's true, Pika. I mean, after all, how? I mean, on some level, you can say, oh, well, Christianity is about worshiping this outside group, and, like, historically, a lot of Christians expelled that outside group, right? A lot. But other Christians brought them in and gave them certain things, and, like, okay, like, it's a mixed bag. And if the bag is going to be mixed again, as I said, what I care about is my people. So if any particular religious group and says, "Oh no, we're the most based and red pilled around," then I'll be happy to have them. Spencer says he wants to visit Japan. Yeah, I mean it's good. I'd recommend it. It's a cool place to visit. It's pretty darn safe, all things considered. Especially if you're a man. So, no, it's good. When I've traveled, I've really enjoyed traveling the most. When I really get to see the place real deeply, I don't like going to tourist traps. I like staying with a family, right? That's kind of my deal. So, I mean, and I don't know how old you are, but even as an adult, like, you can sign up to go stay with a family, and they'll, like, you know, they'll get pictures of them, and they'll get pictures of you, and you can go over there, and pretty good. Mr. Gladius says he's going to use the term loot bugs. I don't know. Yeah, well, I mean, so when you say that, Mr. A, you're just talking about online pagans? Versus... I don't know who Apollonian Germ is. Sorry to say. I'm not always paying attention to these different personalities. I'm focused on the broader, you know, implications, and like a lot of my videos are introducing concepts, ideas, and lexicon to hopefully sort of push the pile. Okay, I can do one thing here then. I can do one mission. Uno mission. Okay, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm going to be streaming tomorrow, same time, and you can play with me tomorrow, right? If you want to play Deep Rock Galactic with me, I'll be just inviting, you know, we'll be playing together tomorrow. Hazard 5, you think? Patricia says, why are you in air? I thought this was an underground game.
Mission selected.
Why is there air around me?
Gentlemen, move out.
Oh, you mean when I was jumping off the wall? Well, Mr. A... Well, I did mention the Volkish pagans, the Estertrue Folk Assembly, right? You might remember there was that news story where they had purchased an old church in Murdoch, Minnesota, and they were turning into one of their halls. They have a number of sort of halls or whatever in the United States. And I think outside of the United States as well. They have their sort of churches, whatever you would call it. Hoff?
Remember,
I don't remember. But, yeah. I mean, they have real life stuff. They have their communal... Ooh, look at that shot. They have their communal... what's that one? Not sacrilege. The communal... Not sanction, not sacrilege.
Our scanners have picked up a massive deposit of a quark. We're sending you in alongside a heavily armed lifter to get as many out as possible.
No. I wanted to get that. Well, they have their... Gosh, I can't think of the words, man. They have their rites, their religious rites that they engage in. Whatever the word is. Sacrament. There you go. I don't know if sacrament's the right word, but it is. I think it's the word I was thinking of. They have their rites. They have their religious activities they engage in physically in the real world. Because they have their community or they have their community organizing guys. So the way their organization works, I guess, is like you have the overall Estertrue Folk Assembly sort of leadership for the world, but then there are individual regions, often in the United States, they're states, that have their own leader within the state. Oh, folk builders. Yeah, and then they have like individual halls, you know, places of worship and sacrament in under that person. So there's like a religious structure in the real world, physical locations. I mean, they have like tax-exempt status in multiple states where they practice their religion.
God damn it, there's a pebble in my boot.
You say, I hope they're not new agey. Well, they're very big on having families and working jobs and being normal people. That's my impression. I mean, if you see pictures of them at their religious things, it's a lot of couples and families with kids, and it looks, you know, when you look at the like the Murdoch, Minnesota stuff, it like Looks like a bunch of Lutherans at a potluck, sorta. But obviously they're not Lutherans. But it might be something like a potluck. Patricia says he plays a lot of Space Engineers. I think Krogan wanted to play that game at one time, and I was like, I don't want to play it. I don't know. I think I wasn't into it. That was my impression, if I remember correctly. All right, Bosco.
Explosives, boys.
Life After Death says my comments are being deleted. Is what I say really that bad? Well, is it like an insta-delete thing? I mean, are you commenting in the chat now, or is it on a video? At the end of the day, I'm not doing any moderating. I'm just playing the game. If your comments are being deleted on the videos, that's generally, it's an automated system, right? There are certain keywords where if you use them, you'll just get your comments deleted. And, yeah, like, it's set up around their ideas. YouTube's ideas. It has nothing to do with me. How am I doing here? Oh, I have enough nitro for a resupply. I'll just call it down now, because there's no reason not to.
Hang in there. Supplies are on the way.
Boom. Blew the sacks right off the thing, the goo bomber. That's actually a... Come on, you. Ooh, look at all that nitro. Oh, I didn't realize I was near that. Web spitter. I don't know if I'm gonna do this data deposit or not. Life After Death says in the chat. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I saw any, but I'm missing some of the comments. So I don't know exactly. Oh, get out of here, you. If your comments were deleted by the mod, it would only be Ando, because I think he's the only person I have modded right now. But it does say in chat, like if a mod deletes your comments in the chat, we all get to see the message. Like it would say. Oh, let's see here. Oh my gosh, there's more. They're back already. This is what Hazard 5 is like. No breaks. Nice. Perfect timing. Let me take a look at this chat here. Oh, Patricius, you and your loot bugs. Okay, you do that, Bosco. I don't know why I'm doing that. I'll go do this one way over here. Oh, God. Way up there. Maybe something lower. Well, that's not... Here is messing with us now, with that deleted comment. Because I know, because I'm not on YouTube, right? So, like, I'm looking at the chat through my streaming program, and if a comment gets deleted, it doesn't show as comment deleted for me. I'm not even aware when it's deleted. Like if Ando deletes it. Ooh.
I needed that.
But yeah, for anyone who hasn't heard, I should be on No White Guilt's channel later today.
I need you here.
He's doing, I believe, an anniversary stream. Him and what's it called?
Explosives.
What's he called, I guess? Oh, the Great Order? They've been streaming for like 4 years or something now?
Think you could kill me? Well, think again.
Oh, KNAT says, what's the better strategy? The trad wife? Or just lying to your girl and getting her to watch Wall-E with you? Which is what Sam Hyde suggested. Well, one of the things that's pretty obvious to me is that you do not need her to align with you on everything. There's obviously things you do need her to align with you on, right? The very most important things would be like, do you want a family? You know, there's a shocking number of... God, did you ever watch, like, Stefan Molyneux's interviews where he would be like... He would ask someone about their relationship with their fiancé or their wife or their husband, and then they're like, okay, well, you want a family? And they're like, yeah, I want a family. And he'd be like, well, does your spouse want a family? And they'd be like, well, we've never talked about it. And he's like, what? What the hell do you guys talk about? Like, there's a sort of non-confrontational approach to a lot of women and soy boys who they're like, oh, well, you know, that would be too intense to, you know, ask her if she wants a family. It's like, no, dude, you have to ask. You have to ask. It's not an option. Do not ask. So, now, how much of her politics do you want to align with you? I'd say it doesn't have to be very much, but, you know, there is a political aspect on some level to a lot of things, right? So what do you want to hear from her? She wants to have a family like you want to have a family. Big family, small family, no family. She wants to reject certain methods of child abuse, like really bad anti-whiteism, you know, white guilt for your children, teaching them that they're evil oppressors, and, you know, pushing them into sexually novel circumstances with modern sexualities, right? Does she have to agree with you on what the foundation of Western civilization truly is? Well, no. If she's not going to push the anti-white stuff and the gender stuff on your kids, then, and wants to have a size appropriate family with you and live roughly in the arrangements that you desire, then you, if she gets frustrated about something on TV that you think is stupid, you can say, well, let's just go watch Wall-E, honey. You know, that's a legitimate strategy. So, I mean, so I'm somewhere halfway between Sam Hyde and the other person on some level. Although Sam Hyde, if we were to press him on this idea, he might agree more with what I just said. You know, like, he might be like, well, obviously I don't mean, you know, you want a family and you marry a girl who hates kids and convince her to watch Wall-E. That doesn't fix anything. Now, Patricia says his GF leaving me of 2 years... Oh, leaving 2 years ago. That we actually already agreed on babies. Oh, wow. Well, why... Okay, well, there's a lot that I don't know about that situation, so... I don't have many questions. I don't have any specific interpretation. Yeah, well, and Mr. A uses the term brainwash, but you can certainly influence your wife to some degree. That being said, you don't need to Like, you never need her to, like, achieve
Go fetch.
complete alignment with you. That's all I'd say, you know? It's like, make sure those basics are hit. I mean, there's really no use wasting your time on some chick who's like, get pregnant and have kids and ruin my body? Why would I do that? It's like, you know, every day you date her is a waste of a day, you know? That's a day you could have met someone else. Uh-huh. Oh, I missed. Let's run down here. Get out of here, you. Now, Patricia says, problem is women will change their minds. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, women, everybody changes their minds to some degree, but maybe women are a little bit more flaky in general. Well, and that's why I think most people would be better served by not dragging out relationships as long as they do, but instead to more thoroughly and on some level harshly judge the other person and move on. What I mean by that is, like, let's say you meet a girl, and then you're like, okay, how is she? And you, like, I don't know, write in your journal about how things are going, and then review what you've written in your journal with as if you were a different person reading it. And it's like, does this sound like a good relationship? Does this sound like the kind of woman you want raising your kids? If it does, then, you know, you're only 3 months in, you should be trying to meet her family and determine if she's the one. You know, if you can't tell if, like, it does not take a year after meeting someone to find out if they should be your wife or ever, right? It's that's not a year-long process. Oh, I overheated my drills. That's a bummer. It is not a year-long process to find out if a person should be your spouse forever. That is like, I would say at the low end, that process could be done in about 100 days. 100 days from you just met her to, all right, she's the girl who should be my wife and the mother of my children. Or not, right? And if she's not, then you need to leave right then. No use wasting your time with someone who can't or shouldn't be the mother of your children. What do they say with the women, especially? They say if you're not dating for love, you're dating for heartbreak. Something like that. That gets said more with women than to men, but, you know, like, oh my, I don't like fighting in this tunnel. Ooh, God. So, if you don't know how this works, I called down this hacking pod. The hacking pod needs, I would need to create, well, maybe I could, oh, I could do something goofy? Oh, no. No. I don't like it. So the hacking pod, you have to set up this line of communication from the hacking pod to that thing there, and then you have to sit at the hacking pod and protect it. But that tunnel, that would mean I would have to sit in that tunnel and just protect it in that tunnel. And you saw how well defending that tunnel worked for me just now. It was awful. There's 3 entrances. Wasn't planned out super well. I'm not doing it. Screw that. So I'll just take the last resupply. I'll put another one down. Last resupply, press the button.
Stand back, supply pod inbound.
And hit it. Let's take a look at here. I gotta look up through this. I gotta scroll through chat. Mr. A says a woman needs to have her own personality, not just one who apes you. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't have to be a perfect personality, but it should be, you know. You know, it's one of those things where, like, when Sam Hyde made his comments about, like, he was why was Sam Hyde making those comments? Because he had these guys messaging him who were like, I tried to talk to my girlfriend about this particular ethnic group and she wouldn't listen, so I dumped her, right? And he's trying to bring them back to reality, right? That's why he said what he said. Because these people were way out of line in the direction of being way too strict about stuff that doesn't matter that much. But some people might be out of line in the other direction, way too accepting. Having children with women who are going to, like, teach their children to hate themselves. So you might have to consider, if you're interested in advice like this, where you're at. If you're too far in one direction, which direction are you too far in? And if you think you might be too far in one direction, then do what you can to adjust your expectations into something more reasonable. Try and find the happy medium. Okay, let me look at the chat here. Don't underestimate the influence you can have on your kids as a father. I agree, but I wouldn't underestimate other influences too. One of the things we know about people is, like, the frequency of which they receive a message determines basically how much they believe it, more or less. So, like, you can be the best father in the world, but if they're spending 8 hours a day at school listening to anti-white teachers and 1 hour a day with you at dinner, they're probably going to accept some anti-white stuff. Yeah. Bruce Taylor said he made a bad choice of girlfriends. Yeah. A lot of us have. You're gonna have to do what you can to bounce back.
Keep it together. Drop pod is on.
Gladius says Embargo lore is forming up. We've got space stations, mammoth clones, and loot bugs. Keep in mind the loot bugs wasn't me. That wasn't me. Who? I'm the mammoth clone space station guy. Okay.
Drop pod has landed and is ready for takeoff. Drop pod departing in
Whoa,
3
and I'm in.
minutes. Retrieving escape pod.
I mean, so Knat says he thinks he agrees with me. Not being anti-white is an important characteristic in a woman, and as well as wanting a family. Yeah, and make sure she doesn't hate men. Right. So, like, you want a woman who on some level likes men, think men are kind of cool or good and not all bad. This is not that she hasn't found men she disliked or had disagreements or whatever, but, like, you don't want to shack up with a man hater. And as such, if you should probably not hate women, I mean, this is the flip side to that. I know there are some guys who are like, who really seem to hate women, and I don't feel like that's a good thing, you know? Like, and I'm not saying you can't criticize or whatever, or you can't, like, make fun of or think, like, no, you're not going to match up with all the women because we're different. Like, we shouldn't expect them to be men, right? So, like, what are a lot of women into, you know? Like astrology stuff. Am I into it? No. Do I take it seriously? No. Do I know a lot of women are into it? Yes. Am I fine with that? More or less, you know, like, I'm not into it. I think it's kind of a waste of their time. But as long as they're kind of doing all the other stuff and they don't hate men and they're not anti-white, it's just like, I'll listen to a little bit of it. And then I'll just be like, well, that's women for you. And then move on. I still like them. Yeah, sure. Maybe they do goofy things. Get over it. You know, I'll meet some guys, they're like, these women are into astrology, you know. We should burn these witches. I hate them, you know. And it's like, all right, bro. You got some issues. women, if I find a wife and she's into yoga or this other thing that I'm not into, as long as it's not interfering with the rest of the stuff, she can do it. Like, she can be her own person, regardless of whether or not it matches up with the guys. Because I'm not expecting her to be a guy, right? All right, let me take a look at the chat here. Lamp says, why people even let Sam Hyde's opinion shape their opinion on anything? Well, I mean, like, Sam Hyde's a goof in some ways, but, you know, some people have reached out to him with, I think, some genuine problems, and I think he's laid down some pretty good advice at times. I totally get why anyone would not like Sam Hyde, but I think he's pretty funny. And I don't think he's... I feel like the danger of Sam Hyde is the people who can't tell the jokes from the serious stuff and are going to take the serious stuff as jokes and are going to take the jokes as serious and, like, do some stupid do some stupid stuff. Nero says, what's your opinion on the maximum body count before she can no longer pair bond and be a suitable partner and mother? Oh, God. Maximum? I don't know, man. On some level, you're going to have to adjust your expectations based off of your desirability. As, like, what? This is, like, going to hurt people's feelings, right? If you're young, handsome, good weight, right? Making a lot of money, you can adjust your expectations higher. And if you're less desirable, then you'll have to adjust your expectations lower. I don't know if there is, like, a maximum. I mean, it just tends to get worse the more she's got. But I'm not under the impression that... I'm not, like... I don't think that male promiscuity is that helpful either, right? Such that, like, if you've been a real degenerate, promiscuous person, I mean, like, you might have to set your expectations lower just because... Like, the girl who's saving herself for marriage just might not be super interested in the guy who has clearly, through his 20s, not given a single crap about that kind of stuff. Mr. A says, there's too much intolerance on the right for women. I would definitely agree at times. You know, it's like, I would like to see a measured, thoughtful approach to the way we deal with the opposite sex and do things that facilitate us having happy families. That's what I want for women, to be mothers of happy families and men to be fathers of happy families and to have a good life. And that's certainly not going to come through some of the more hateful, like, short-sighted comments. That being said, some of that messaging on the right does seem to come from, as far as I can tell, bad actors. People pretending to be us to drive the sexes apart. Keep in mind, I talked about that Gen Forward survey. Young white people, their number one identity tends to be their sex. Ye old battle of the sexes rages hard in the white community, and it has for a long time. And this is partly because, and why is it our biggest one? Well, partly because people still haven't gotten the message that you're going to get your city burned down for not paying attention to race. Right? So... Nero says, since I made Sam Hyde into my guru, whenever a girl flirts with me, I just yell MGTOW in her face. Yeah, exactly. I posted that clip where he's like, oh yeah, this girl's like, oh yeah, you're really cool, Sam, and I like what you do. Did you want to hang out? And he's like, why? So you can steal all my money? bitch, MGTOW, and just throws the bottle. I love that clip. It's a hilarious clip. But I mean, it does, I mean, he's going over the top to demonstrate, like, some of these, like, perspectives are super unhinged, right? That's what he's demonstrating. And I think it's a hilarious clip. But I think there are some younger, unhinged guys who maybe don't understand where the jokes start and the serious ends. Like, they thought that was, like, what they should do. I think a couple of them, because you're on the internet. He's got, he's got, when you look at his, he's got multiple channels, or there are multiple channels that upload his content, right? It's like not him. But when you look across all these channels, they got like millions of views. Like a lot of people are listening to him. And trust me, like if you were to go to Central Park, New York City and get millions of people listening to you, you'll have some crazies who really don't understand your message, but they think they do. This is just the way things are. Mr. A says he thinks that Coach Red Pill isn't a positive influence. And I don't know him. I've never watched him. He didn't say that, Nero? Oh, God. Shut up, Nero. God. Mr. A says Mr. A points out that Sam Hyde doesn't have a woman in a healthy relationship. That's true. Nero says, regardless of the value of a man, what would be the threshold which a woman is beyond a healthy relationship and / having a family? I mean, God, I don't think there is like a limit. And I think it's like one of this, it's the interplay between her biology and her psychology, right? Like if a woman, like what are you going to find with a woman who's really slept around and gets in a relationship? Again, this is just as like, you know, this is based off of the scientific research that the more premarital partners women have, the more likely the relationship is to end in divorce. I mean, what you're experiencing there is she can't pair bond. She feels there's something missing. Okay, so just to put this out there, the statistics are what the statistics are. They show that they show that happens, right? Where women who have slept around more divorce more. Now, it is my hypothesis that there's a causal relationship that prevents pair bonding. Like sex is a pair bonding experience. The more you sort of do it frivolously, the less it works later on. It's like a piece of tape. You know, you stick it to a wall, pull it off, stick it back, pull it off, stick it back. It just gets less sticky in each time. Right? That's the hypothesis. That's the one of the interpretations of the data that I subscribe to, and that a lot of us do. And the deal is, of course, these women who are having trouble pair bonding, might sort of question themselves, like, my relationship isn't feeling as fulfilling as I thought it would. Maybe I need to end this relationship to go find the better one, that I'll be able to feel all those pair bonding feelings that I think I should be having. And, you know, it's just a matter of the woman's personality. Is she going to be able to set that aside? Is she going to be able to accept reality like, listen, it's not going to be the fairy tale that maybe it could have been had I saved myself for marriage. But I found a great guy and I've got these great kids and I really can't sabotage it. Even if I'm lacking some of the feelings I thought I would feel, I can't sabotage it. So, like, that's what you're looking for. Like, if you found a girl who's been with a few guys, and when I say a few, let's say 10, which would be a lot, right? It could still work, right? Maybe you are the kind of guy who can't get much better of a girl, right? And you're worried, like, should I be bothering with this at all? If she were to have the mentality of being super committed, I think it could work. That being said, most girls who've slept around aren't like that. So it's like, I don't think there's a hard limit, but I think it's just rough. I think it's rough no matter how you look at it. You know, if she actually listened to Stefan Molyneux or people like myself, and she, like, actually told you that she believed because she had slept around that she would never feel the feelings that she thought she would, but she wanted to commit to you anyway, and, like, or especially if she had found religion and was, like, if she became, like, a certain type of Christian where she felt like serving God was the most important thing, and then God expected her to maintain her marriage, right? And that there would be no way she would willingly end it. Like, okay. Like, you might still make it work. I mean, it's just one of those things. Well, let me take a look here. When's No White Guilt gonna start streaming? Has he started streaming yet? Because I should be on his thing later today. Okay, he's gonna start streaming in, No White Guilt's gonna start streaming in 50 minutes. No, I'm not gonna be with him at the start. I'm gonna be with him later in the day. So, I think he's gonna have a number of people pop in and out. So I don't think I'll actually be on there that long. But, like, he's doing his anniversary stream. 4-year anniversary stream of the after party with, the Great Order. Mr. Gladius says we should stop being ironic. I don't think so. Necessarily. I think, like, you might not like Sam Hyde's form of irony, but I think what we need more of on our side is humor and fun, and, like, on some level, when you come hang out with us, when you, like, join the White Wellbeing stuff, we should have edgy jokes and cool music and a lot of, like, things that appeal to the youth, and, like, meme culture and all this and that should be part of that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the Sam Hyde approach for everybody, but, yeah. Now, Mr. A says... Oh, well, let's see here. Well, Mr. A says, it was used as a tool to make people dishonest about their opinion and always use ideas for entertainment purposes. Well, we do need to... I do think we need to entwine our ideas and entertainment more. I mean, you've seen the rise of, like, how news got replaced with entertainment news to a large degree in the last few decades, right? Well, on some level, our ideology should be the entertainment ideology. And I understand the concerns about the sacrificing of quality, like intellectual integrity of the ideas, by incorporating it with humor too much, or, like, being, like, irony flipping over into meta-irony and being confused and obfuscating the ideas to where the ideas can't be recognized and spread. Like, I totally get those criticisms. Those are good and honest criticisms. But hanging out with us should be more fun. Like, am I off base? It should be more fun to hang out with us than other people, and it should be more fun to hang out with us this year than it was last year, because there's lots of us on the right, including me, who are, like, super serious all the time, and it's not always, like, as an outsider coming over to us, it's not, like, super fun for a lot of people, and it should be. It should be more fun to come over to us. Johnny 5K says he refuses to have fun. Well, I mean, we can have some of that too. You know, everyone's idea of fun is a little bit different. Now, Mr. A says, if your ideology isn't entertaining, then it's invalid. Question mark? Well, I mean, I understand your point, but that's missing my point, right? My point is not we need entertainment to be valid. My point is our ideology is valid, but I want to incorporate anything and everything to help it spread, right? It's not about whether the idea is valid, it's about whether we can attract and welcome in new people to the idea, into these ideas, such that they want to participate and stay here and be in it for life. So, Nero says, if we make video games, will you lend your Adam Jensen voice talent? I don't know if I want to just imitate Adam Jensen in a game. I would be fine to help people make a game. I've actually considered the idea that maybe I should get into, like, the, Unreal Engine, like, video game development and, like, start to learn it as a skill set just so I could maybe help us do a thing. Or Unity. I'm surprised I got all the way to that ledge. I'm more than happy to help. I don't know if I would necessarily be a good voice actor. I would certainly be more than happy to try voice acting, but I might not be I might not be good at it. Who knows? I might be one of the worst. Mr. Gladius says, I don't remember Caesar saying, hey guys, it's more fun to hang out with me than that cringe lord Pompey. Keep in mind, Caesar was immensely popular. Like, his troops really liked him. The people really liked him, right? And there are multiple ways to get people to like you. Humor and being entertaining and having fun is definitely one of them. And I think, I don't think he was super serious all the time and always. There's even if, let's say, we were to say Caesar was never funny, he still very much used ways to get people to like him, and it wasn't all just winning wars. Ooh, I'm making it onto this ledge pretty well. Do my Jensen? Oh god, I don't... It really helps to hear his voice right before I do it, so I can try and, like, try it. If I don't hear his voice, it's really hard to emulate it. To just do it out of nowhere, but he's like, okay. What does he say? Like, oh yeah. What does he say? He says, like, Pritchard. Oh, I don't know what he says. He says, okay, come in. Yeah, I'm over here at the box. I don't know. I really should hear his voice before I try it. Okay, let's bring this up. Where's my... Adam Jensen voice? Nah. Adam Jensen calls tech support scam.
New Clorox disinfecting.
Oh god. Let's get through.
If calling support, my name is Daniel and how can I help you today?
Oh.
Hello.
Hello. How's it? Hello.
Hello.
The computer got a virus.
This computer has a virus. I don't know. And I've never really been into impressions, right? Like as a kid or at any point, I've never like used impressions for humor. But I at least on that first day when I did the Adam Jensen voice, I think it came out pretty well. And then every day after that, it got worse. Caesar got into a lot of debt for his political campaigns for people to like him. Very true. Very true. I mean, he was willing to network and give people what they wanted in many ways. But he did get people to like him. You know, like, the main point I'd like to get at there is he got people to like him. So I want people to like us. And we aren't Caesar, So we might not be able to make the promises of Roman citizenship and salaries of gold, right? We might not be able to take the Caesar approach on this one. Okay, well, I think I'm about done streaming for today. Remember, No White Guilt is going to be doing his 4-year anniversary stream coming up in a little bit. 40 minutes. I might be on there for a little bit later in the evening. And I'm going to be streaming tomorrow. And we're going to be playing games together. Like, you can come play Deep Rock Galactic with me tomorrow. I haven't seen that yet, Johnny. I did see that it got announced or whatever, but I haven't actually checked it out. Well, if you decide not to show up tomorrow, have a good weekend. Otherwise, have a good Saturday. I'll probably see quite a few of you on the No White Guilt stream. And, yeah. I don't know why... so this game you're talking about, why would I only be doing impressions? Do I really need impression coaching? Is it a game where I only do impressions? Can we just do something normal? Okay. Anyway, have a good one. Peace out, everybody.